Curse you, Microsoft.
Exactly. Yeah. I really don't need Skype to be a social network. I mean, for me, I only do one podcast. It might as well just be a button with your face on it.
Oh, wow. There's a show title for you. Yes, I've always wanted a button, especially if it's like an Amazon Dash button with my face on it, and you could just summon me and I would show up. That sounds worse than it probably is. But
there we go. I'll get on that straight after we finish recording.
All right. So Rob, we need to talk about food because it's been a long time since we've really delved deeply into the terrible corners of fast food across the globe. And, as bad as I think sometimes it is here in the U.S., and if you go all the way back to the micro burger pizza that we discussed in episode 1 of Ruminate, it's pretty bad here in the United States. I mean, Pizza Hut and micro burger pizzas endorsed by YouTubers, that was kind of crazy at the time. But the UK has been really working on taking the title of awful fast food. And this is something, I got to tell you, this is something I noticed when I was in London. When I'm in the greater Chicago area, it's not super easy to find a KFC. I mean, there are a couple, but they're not close by. You have to kind of go looking for them. But when I was in London, there were KFCs everywhere.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We don't have the variety of fast food places that America does. We pretty much have McDonald's, Burger King, KFC, Subway. Like, those are the ones you can kind of guarantee are everywhere. Right. And when you're in a big city like London or Manchester, places like that, you're going to find one every 5 or 10 minutes.
Well, and one of the things that I saw when I was in London advertised just about everywhere for KFC was the Double Down. And no sooner had I returned to America than I saw a tweet from you that you had done the Double Down.
I did. Yeah. It was, me and Jess were just out and about, and, we were near the KFC, and I said, let's just go and grab some KFC. And I saw it, and it wasn't quite what I wanted. I was quite just looking forward to just some chicken,
but somehow it's
some chopsticks.
Somehow it spoke to you, right?
Yeah, I almost felt like it was my duty to do it. I mean, as you say, I'm pretty sure if you go back to episode 1, we even mentioned the Double Down at that point.
Yes,
because I think it was out in America at that point.
Right.
So I really felt like I had to have one.
I think this is one of those items that comes and goes from the menus here and there around the world, right? And they are, in fact, I think, pitching the Double Down here in America too. So this seems to be a transatlantic thing. I have not had an opportunity to go to do the Double Down, but why don't you explain for people exactly what is a Double Down?
So imagine yourself a sandwich, if you will, with cheese and some barbecue sauce. But instead of bread, you have 2 large pieces of chicken.
Yes.
And they're kind of in, I guess, the kind of thing you might get like a burrito in. It's kind of like wrapped up like a burrito, and then it's in like a little sort of promotional cardboard sleeve. And it's really, really messy. Like, this is, you look at the adverts and it's like, this person's just eating a lovely sandwich where the bread is chicken. No, this thing is a mess. You cannot eat it nicely.
Rob, there's a reason why bread is involved in a sandwich, and part of that is neatness.
Yeah, I think we might, as a society, be onto something with this bread thing for sandwiches. Yeah. I can't remember who it was that replied to us, but they kind of said like it's terrible and amazing at the same time.
Right.
It's food. It's KFC chicken, which I like. It's cheese. It's barbecue sauce. I mean, there's nothing really not to like, but I'm not convinced I would get another one.
Yeah, there's a lot of good there, but when you think about it, what you've done is you have eliminated the innards of your sandwich. So essentially, the inside of your sandwich is nothing but barbecue sauce and cheese, because the chicken, which would have been part of that, is now on the outside, and that's what you've got to. I mean, I'm not surprised they give you a little cardboard thing to hold it with.
Yeah, it got pretty much. I mean, I was eating it in Jess's car. I think,
you're eating it in the car too?
Oh yeah, I was eating it in the car. I mean, I know what happens. If I make a mess, I'm just going to have to pay somebody to clean it. You know, we're going to go to the car wash place and get them to clean the inside of it. But I really didn't want to do that.
You weren't driving, were you?
No, I wasn't driving.
Oh, good. Yeah, I wouldn't suggest that anybody drive and eat a Double Down.
No, definitely not.
Interesting. All right, so these are like essentially giant chicken nuggets, right?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah,
breaded and fried, and there's cheese inside. Is the entire chicken part covered with barbecue sauce, or do they put that inside like you would maybe put mayonnaise or mustard or something on a regular sandwich?
Yeah, no, it's as if it's a regular sandwich. So that, you know, the problem is I think they put a lot of barbecue sauce on it. So once it's like been wrapped up and put in the little cardboard sleeve, you start getting it out. There's barbecue sauce everywhere because it's kind of just been squeezed out and it's just in the kind of foil wrap.
And there's no bread to absorb the barbecue sauce, right? So it's just squishing out everywhere, basically.
Yes, that's exactly it.
Is this wrapped in a tortilla? Is that what you said, or is it just in the cardboard?
No, it's in a wrapped up in foil, and then slipped into the cardboard sleeve, like you'd get a burrito or something like that.
Right. So there's no bread product involved. There's no tortilla. I mean, it's good if you're gluten free, right? I suppose.
I mean, I don't know about the sauces and the like, but yeah, I guess
or the
so.
breading on the chicken. Yeah, but it's definitely a low carb diet, I would say, if nothing else.
I don't think that. I don't think you should imply that maybe it's good for you, because that's definitely not the case.
No, it's probably not a healthy. It's probably not a healthy choice, Rob. But I'm glad that somebody took the bullet for ruminate.
Yeah, I won't be having one again. I am going to stick to, just chicken wings and drumsticks and right. That kind of thing. But I did have something that was really, really good.
Right. What's that?
I had Taco Bell. Now, just bear with me a second, because as I say, we don't have that many fast food places in the UK. And I hadn't had Taco Bell before. But there is one reasonably near us. But I had occasion to go in there, and I don't know what I had. A crunch wrap thing.
Oh, that's a good choice. Good choice.
Crunch wrap supreme. And it was actually really good.
I will let you in on a secret, which is that I am a little bit of a Taco Bell aficionado too, but I try not to go there because it strikes me as probably the lowest of low fast foods in some respects. When I was studying to be a lawyer, in the United States you have to take a test to become a lawyer after law school. And I had no money, I had no job, and I was studying for the test all summer long. And I had a few dollars, and I would go and I would buy myself 2 tacos at the local Taco Bell as my lunch. And so that was my sustenance for an entire summer. And so because I could only afford the real basic taco, not the supreme one like you got, I would put a lot of hot sauce on it because that kind of jazzed it up a little bit. And I look back fondly on those Taco Bell days, I guess. These days, I have a son who likes Taco Bell a lot, and I tell him we can only go every 6 months. So almost like clockwork. I think he set a calendar item. He tells me it's time to go to Taco Bell, and so every 6 months I will go to Taco Bell and get something. He likes those. They have some tacos that have like Dorito shells.
I don't know if I saw that on the menu here.
Right.
I think the menus differ quite a lot
okay.
between the US and the UK, because I've kind of heard the jokes about Taco Bell that it's the kind of place you go, as you say, maybe if you've got no job and you're you just need something cheap, or maybe you're drunk, or all of that kind of stuff.
Yes.
And,
drunk,
or it makes
poor,
you
yes.
ill, or that kind of thing. Honestly, it was really, really good. I mean, that's probably because it's my first time as well.
Yeah.
It's not the best food in the world. I'm not an idiot. I can tell that it is what it is. But I was really impressed with how much I enjoyed it.
Well, it suffers from the double down effect too, which is that this is not food that you eat while you're driving, right? You don't do the drive-through of Taco Bell and then try to eat a crunchy taco while you're driving down the highway, because it'll just be all down your front.
Yeah.
But what I was the taco I was describing, and maybe they don't have it in the UK. It's you're familiar with Doritos generally, though, right?
Yeah.
And they have kind of that, nasty powdery stuff on the outside.
Yeah, and
the
flavor.
Flavoring powder. whether it's Cool Ranch or, I don't know, Zesty, whatever. And they make the shell out of that, and then they dump the taco ingredients inside of that.
Wow, yeah, that sounds a bit like the Double Down. Sounds awesome and terrible at the same time.
Yeah, they've done a lot of Double Down type stuff. And, actually, I believe that KFC and Taco Bell are owned by the same parent company. That Pepsi owns both KFC and Taco Bell. At least that used to be the case.
Yeah, I believe is it Yum Brands, I think, is the
yes,
the company that owns them.
That is exactly it.
So it's Taco Bell, KFC, and Pizza Hut, and something called Wing Street, which I've not heard of.
I've not heard of that either. That may be in some other part of the world, but yes, this is really where it brings it full circle, and we come all the way back to the micro burger pizza.
Yeah,
it's all part of the same conglomerate.
Yeah, it's funny that Taco Bell. I was looking on their website a minute ago. We only have about sort of 30 stores in the UK for Taco Bell. I mean, I think they're expanding a bit more now, but they tend to do this quite slowly. So, but if I get the chance, I will be going back again at some point.
All right. Is this the point where we spring on people that we have since day one been sponsored by Yum Brands?
John, you're not supposed to tell anyone.
Oh, I'm sorry. That was a secret, right? It's like product placement. No, unfortunately, no. I wish that were true, that we had a multi-million-dollar deal with Yum Brands, but no, we're just shilling for their unhealthy products.
Yeah, I mean,
with
very
no
on
compensation
brand for our
whatsoever. All right.
So, I mean, talking of things that are on brand.
Yes, we need to talk about Prime Day.
Yeah, you may remember episode 25 of our podcast. The title was 168 packets of cat food, and that was in 2016. Oh, to the day, 25th of July 2016. And this was Prime Day, where I bought a lot of cat food.
Yeah, what have you done, Rob? What have you done?
As I say, the last time it was 168. This time I got 240 packets. The only thing I bought on Prime Day was cat food.
Is this for you or for your cat?
It's for my cats.
Okay, all right. Well, I suppose in a kind of roundabout way, it's for you too. But because you want to keep your cat happy, that's a lot of cat food. So what kind of deal did you get? How much does 240 packets of cat food cost, may I ask?
So that cost, it was 2 boxes of 120, and it was £20 a box. So it was £40 for 240 packets, which, I mean, we have 2 cats. All right. So, we need about 60 packets a month. So it's going to last us about 4 months. So that's, £10 a month to keep our cats fed is pretty good.
That's, I got to say, that seems like a very good deal. I'm not a cat person, but that seems like a good deal.
Yeah. I mean, that was it. I didn't buy anything else on Prime Day. I convinced a couple of the guys at work, or one of the guys, you may remember, I convinced somebody last year to buy a PlayStation.
Oh yeah,
that same guy got a Switch this year.
Oh, did they have a good deal on Switches?
In the UK, they did. They had a few different bundles. There was a Mario Odyssey bundle, a Mario Kart one, and I think a Mario Tennis one as well. And they all varied. Like, one of them came with a Pro controller, some came with extra Joy-Cons. Yeah, they were pretty good deals.
Oh, that's good. I mean, my problem I've always had with Prime Day is, like, I'll go on and I'll look and I'll see the list of stuff and I'll scroll through, and I just feel like I'm at a flea market or somebody's, like, yard sale, because it just, most of it feels like junk that Amazon can't sell. Now, I did find myself taking a second look at a couple of 4K TVs, because I thought, if I got a 4K TV for cheap, then I could get a PS4 Pro bundle with the new Spider-Man game, and that's the slippery slope that Amazon wants to take you down. But 95 to 99% of the stuff just seemed kind of like weird one-off junk.
Yeah, a lot of it definitely feels like the kind of stuff that just hasn't sold for the last 12 months. It's just kind of sat around and they go, let's sell these off now. We'll put a discount on it, and they'll just try and get rid of it.
But it's super successful. They made a ton of money. I mean, it's like the biggest sales day ever. I mean, maybe I'll do some real-time follow-up and look it up. But I saw some headlines that they made an amazing amount of money on all that junk.
Oh yeah, I mean, if there's one thing Amazon can do, it's sell crap to people.
Well, that you should. I'm telling you, you should really work on their tagline. So this is from Bloomberg, and we know that that's a pillar of American journalism. That they sold $1 billion worth of stuff on Amazon Prime Day. That's a lot of dollars.
That is a lot of stuff. I mean, that's a lot of people driving across the country. Not just the US, but I think this is worldwide, or it's wherever Amazon is.
Yeah.
That's a lot of people delivering stuff.
They had the Dot at 30% off. I guess that was a big seller.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you buy one of the Echo products at full price, you've been ripped off. Because
yeah, that's true.
Every 2 months, they drop the Dot, and that the Dot will be £35 or $35,
right?
And then they'll drop like the other ones, and they go, "Oh, if you buy 3, we'll give you £50 off." These are constantly on sale because they just want them in people's houses.
Yep. I kind of wonder about the concentration of that revenue. That $1 billion. How much of that is the super discounted Amazon products versus how much of that are things like switches or TVs or whatever it happens to be. It's great if you can find a bargain, something you need. It's awesome. I have found myself, as much as I give Prime a hard time, I find myself using Amazon more and more frequently. I'm doing subscriptions for things like, tissues and paper towels and all that kind of napkins, that sort of thing. And Amazon is becoming the largest retailer in the world, and it's hard to argue with the model because those products, they're getting into making their own clothes, they're making their own brand paper products. A lot of the stuff that I subscribe to now is Amazon branded. It's not even the big brands that you would find in your local grocery store.
Yeah, I mean, I buy a lot of their sort of electronic stuff like cables and things like that because I mean, their lightning cables are so good. Like, they're really sturdy. Those things aren't going to break like a certain fruit company's ones might. But yeah, I mean, I think at this point, like, their biggest problem for scale is just the amount of people they still need. There just isn't enough people that need jobs or can do the jobs, in the warehouses and delivery and all the other stuff around it. Like, that is their problem at this point. Like, they're grown so big, but there just isn't enough people. They can't hire enough people quick enough to get all this stuff out on time.
Yeah, I don't know if this is true in the UK, but one of the things they've done here is it used to be that if you ordered from Amazon, everything came by UPS. And that is not the case anymore. They have a lot of these unmarked white panel vans. Like I actually got something this morning in one of those panel vans. And they also use the US Postal Service. And that's really kind of the worst because I have this really humorous chain of deliveries for this book that I got for one of my kids for high school for this fall. And this is like an $8 book. This book has been everywhere in America at this point. It started out in Seattle, and then it went to California, and after that it came to the greater Chicago area, but it got lost. It literally got within 5 miles of my house before they sent it hundreds of miles away in downstate Illinois. And let's see, I can count for you how many cities it's been in the. Right now, it's back. It's either getting delivered. It's going to get delivered today. So it's been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's been in 10 different cities in Illinois.
Wow. Yeah, I mean that can't be particularly efficient for an $8 book.
I don't know what happened because it seems like the book was doing fine. It quickly went from Seattle to California. Then all of a sudden, on a Saturday morning, oh, it's here. It's like 5 miles away. It'll be coming on Saturday. All of a sudden, somebody at the post office decided, you know what? We don't think we want to deliver this today. We're going to send it downstate. And so they sent it hundreds of miles away from here, and it's been meandering around the state ever since. So, I mean, what is it? It's Wednesday. So it's been like on a 3 or 4 day journey all through central Illinois and working its way back up to northern Illinois.
How strange.
Yeah,
Wow.
I don't know. Whatever. It'll come eventually. Fortunately, it's only a $7.50 book. So if things don't go well, I'm not too worried about being too far out.
So, do you want to tell me about the Maker Faire?
All right, sure. So Maker Faire is there's Maker Magazine, right? And they started these Maker Fairs, which were get-togethers all around. I think initially the United States, and then they've gone global at this point. But Maker Fairs are kind of DIY type celebration conventions. So there's everything there from 3D printers and people creating their own jewelry and robots, modding all sorts of, electronics and that sort of thing. And it's really interesting to me. I mean, it's very heavy science, very heavy open source and do-it-yourself type projects. And I've gone a couple of times to one that they hold in Detroit. The two biggest in the U.S. are probably in the Bay Area, no surprise there, and New York City. But there's a really good-sized one in Dearborn, Michigan, which is just outside Detroit. And in Dearborn, there's the Henry Ford Museum, which is, named after Ford, who started Ford Motors. And there's two things in Dearborn. There's the Henry Ford Museum and Greenfield Village, and they're connected and they're related to each other. And Greenfield Village has historic homes and all sorts of historic technology-related things. Like, for instance, it's like Thomas Edison's boyhood home, that sort of thing. But then that's sort of, in a lot of instances, these things have been dismantled wherever they were, and then brought to Greenfield Village and reconstructed and kind of, set where you can go look at them and learn a little bit about the inventors and other things associated with them. And then there's the Henry Ford Museum, and the Henry Ford Museum is a technology museum, basically. It's everything from the Industrial Revolution and, cars and trains and steam engines and all that kind of thing. But it goes all the way to modern inventions, all sorts of computers and other things, robotics. And it's a great museum. And the Maker Faire is held on the grounds of this museum and Greenfield Village. And so I've been twice. It's a place where I first got interested in 3D printing. There have been things there, like if you've ever watched Storm Chasers on television, where they have these guys in these trucks that look like a little bit like tanks that are trying to drive into the center of a tornado. I mean, they had that kind of thing there where you could go and tour it and look at it and actually talk to the people who did some of the storm chasing, which I always thought was really interesting. And I would take my boys to these. I went to a couple of them in the past, as I said. And this summer, it's this weekend, Maker Faire is back in Detroit, and Stephen Hackett's going to be there. And Stephen's going to be there doing a couple things. One is he is speaking twice at, I think, like 4 or 4:15 in the afternoon on Saturday, and then again on Sunday. And he's going to be doing a talk on getting started with podcasting, which I think would be a really interesting talk to listen to. But he's also there because if you've listened to Connected before, you might know that Stephen collected iMacs, the original iMac, the one with the translucent backside that was various colors, and he collected all colors of those and then donated them to the Henry Ford Museum to their permanent collection. And so the museum is doing an exhibit of translucent technology, basically. They'll have see-through telephones.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, see-through telephones, computers. And so Stephen's collection of iMacs, the G3 iMac, is going to be part of that exhibit. And so he's going to be there to see that and also to speak at the thing. And I haven't been. I think I went to the Maker Faire last maybe 3 or 4 years ago, something like that. And so I figured, you know what? I'm going to head out and I'm going to go check it out. So he's going to be there and I'm going to be there and I'm just going to be hanging around, walking around, checking things out. If any listeners happen to be in the area, say hello. But I'll be at Steven's talk and just hanging out with him. And I really want to see, what I really want to see is Steven seeing the IMAX for the first time in a museum.
Yeah, I mean, that's very, very cool. I mean, he put a lot of effort into getting those and, doing all the cool videos that he did and photographing them. And then, of course, he's then sat in an office with 20-something IMAX that he didn't know what to do with. And the fact that they're, like, in a museum and, being used for good, I guess, they're in a decent place. They weren't just, like, chucked in a landfill or, hidden away somewhere. Like, they're in a museum, which is really cool so that, like, other people can go see them and stuff like that. So, yeah, I'm kind of jealous that you're going to this. I mean, I don't think it's particularly viable for me to get there by this weekend, but
yeah, probably not. But yeah, it is really cool. And it's one of those things where it's like, how much care he takes into the stuff, that the computers that he collects, that the Henry Ford Museum was interested in his collection, because he didn't just collect any iMacs. He collected perfect examples of each color of the iMac. So, I mean, I think he's told this story on Connected before, but when he donated them, and I think he interviewed one of the curators of the museum on that podcast at one point, maybe last summer, but they sent a giant semi-trailer truck to his house with a team of people who came and collected his, I think it's 13 iMacs, and bundled them up in all sorts of protective, padding, and then crates, the kind of thing you would expect someone to come and visit if you're donating a Vincent van Gogh painting or something. They came to his house, parked this giant truck in front of his house, and then spent literally almost an entire day packing up 13 computers and putting them on this truck and then driving them up from Memphis up to Detroit, which was pretty cool. And I'm excited to see them, because I've seen the pictures that he's had on his website at 512 pixels, and I've seen the pictures which are in his the iBook that he did about the history of the iMac, but I've never seen any of these in person, and I'm kind of looking forward to seeing those and just hanging out and enjoying Maker Faire, because it's just one of those things that's an interesting celebration of everything techie and DIY, and it's a nice atmosphere, kind of a carnival atmosphere.
Yeah, it sounds really cool. Maybe post some pictures, or which I imagine you probably will at some point. But
I will.
Yeah, so it sounds really good. Like I say, if it was a little bit easier for me to get there, I'd definitely be coming.
Yeah. And you know what? If you see one in the UK or somewhere, definitely go sometime, because they're a lot of fun. And it's, I think, I don't know, like I'm going with one of my sons, and it's like $30 each to go for the day. And it's just, for us, it's easy because it's only like a 4.5 hour drive. So we'll just spend a couple of days. My parents happen to live nearby, so I'll spend a little time with them and spend a day at the Maker Faire, and it'll be a lot of fun. So, Rob, the other thing I got going on the other thing I've got going on this summer is we are doing big updates to Blink. And by we, I mean me and my lead developer, which is my oldest son, Owen, are both updating Blink for iOS, and there's an all-new Blink for Mac coming.
Is this an exclusive?
It is kind of an exclusive, although I think it's been randomly teased here and there by me and others. But yeah, it's coming soon, probably mid-August. What Blink for iOS does now is it's going to sync via iCloud all of your tokens, which just makes it easier. Nice. Yeah, it just makes it easier for using from the iPhone, iPad. But that iCloud sync will also work with the Mac version. And the Mac version does everything iOS does, but it's also got a menu bar app that will say, you go to a website and you copy a iTunes URL. You can set it so that it automatically copies it, which is a little bit like there's another app that's out there called Affiliates that a lot of people have used in the past to do that. But what's nice about Blink is not only does it do what that app does, but it also has a full-fledged Mac app where you can do the searches. Everything's navigable by keyboard, so you don't have to take your fingers off the keyboard if you don't want to. You can use keyboard shortcuts to copy the links. You can copy the description of the app. You can copy the release notes, all that stuff. Easily switch between tokens really quickly. It's really the full-fledged iOS app plus a little bit, which is nice. And iOS just comes along for the ride and gets some of the nice features like the iCloud sync, better keyboard shortcuts, and some really cool, easy swipe gestures for copying links. So instead of having to go to the share sheet and find blank and tap that and then tap copy, you can just swipe the row of search results and quickly copy a link without having to do anything else, which is pretty cool. So it's, this is one of those things where Blink's not a big moneymaker by any stretch of the imagination, especially on iOS. I mean, the number of people who really need an affiliate linking app for iTunes who write on iOS is pretty limited, but it happens to include the Mac Stories team. So I make it primarily for the Mac Stories team now, and any sales I get in addition to that, I just kind of view it as a bit of a bonus. But I don't really have a ton of time to do development anymore because I've got enough other stuff going on between writing and podcasting. So Owen, who's my oldest son, who's a student at Berkeley in California, he is doing all the development now, and I just kind of handle the business end of things and the marketing and all that jazz. So it's been fun to work with him on it, and it's getting really, really, really close. We're just kind of finalizing some things, and then there's as soon as you have the app ready, you realize how much else there is to do between screenshots and preview videos and contacting press people and all that sort of thing. It's a little daunting with other things going on, but we'll get it out, and it'll get out before the end of the summer.
Nice, yeah. I mean, you know me, I'm going to be much more excited about a Mac version than I am an iOS version, because you know that's not what I do. I don't I don't really use iOS for that kind of stuff, but on the Mac, that's a lot more useful to me. And especially with the search and stuff, because obviously the iTunes store now is basically just movies and TV shows.
Right.
You can't really search for apps anymore. There's some weird loopholes where you can still get apps to load in iTunes when you click links from certain places, but of course that's no good for searching. So
right.
Yeah, I'll be excited to give it a try when it's out.
Yeah, it's I've been using it literally for months now for all of my writing on Mac Stories, and that's why I'm pretty comfortable that it's ready to go, because it's really down to even the little things. Like there'll be times when I'm getting the newsletter together and I have to come up with a bunch of links really quickly. So what I'll do is I'll search, copy, search, copy, search, copy, and so that has allowed me to kind of fine tune little things like where's the focus of the cursor after you're done doing a search, so that you can search for another and copy another link in the fewest number of steps without having to, tap back, click back into the search field and then Command A. You don't have to do any of that. It's all set up so that it's done with the minimal number of clicks and taps on the keyboard. So I think that should be pretty popular in the Mac. At least I'm hoping it will be.
Yeah, that sounds really good. Actually. I mean, that's exactly the kind of thing I want from a Mac app, especially something like that where it's a single-use utility. Kind of sounds like a bad thing, but it does one thing very well. The search and generating the link. So if it's really quick to use and easy to use, like that's great. That's exactly what I want from my Mac apps.
Yeah, it's interesting because obviously there was a lot rumored about marzipan and things as we were working on this. And I actually started this, I don't know, gosh, it's been probably 18 months to 2 years ago. I started working on a Mac app, and I handed it over to Owen, and he looked at my code and he started over, which is probably the best route to go. But the general design is along the lines of what I had envisioned originally. But it's one of those things where we thought about stopping and waiting to see what happened with marzipan, but in the end, I think it's probably a little better served to be a full-blown AppKit app. Well, I guess time will tell whether it would be easier for this to be unified, and maybe down the road, the two would be combined in some sort of single binary that gets deployed across different platforms. But for now, I think it works really well as a standalone AppKit app, and it'll be on the Mac App Store. We're not gonna. It's just not worth the pain to sell it separately on our own website for now. So it'll be on the Mac App Store, and hopefully someday we'll actually even be able to do a bundle between iOS and Mac OS. But unfortunately, you can't do that at the moment with the way the app stores work.
Yeah, that would be pretty nice, just not related to Blink specifically, but yeah, that would be nice if you could just pay one fee, one price, and, get a whole suite of apps. I can imagine this working very well for something like OmniFocus, where,
yep,
they're very expensive apps. Whether it's worth it to you or not is kind of irrelevant, but, they are expensive as apps go. And if they could offer some kind of big discount for buying the whole suite, I can imagine that'd be really useful, right. But we'll have to see. They've only just updated the Mac App Store, or, ready for September. So right. Maybe let's give it a year before we expect that kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. No, anyway, so keep an eye out. We'll be coming soon, and we'll mention it again, I guess, when it's actually out. But Rob, I want to know a little bit about your binge watching of the Fast and Furious series.
Yeah, this... I think some people have been confused about why the hell I would do this.
I don't know. I've watched all these movies. They're fun movies.
Yeah. The thing, right, so when I was, 14, 15 maybe, I had a few DVDs, not many, and two of them were the first Fast and Furious film and the second one. And I would watch them all the time, because like I said, I maybe had like 5 or 6 DVDs, maybe 10. So I kind of watching the same films over and over again, and I loved these movies as when back then. And then they kind of released. There was Tokyo Drift, which I never saw, and sort of it didn't really do very well. So I just assumed, that's kind of the end of it. And then there's a bunch more movies now. Like there's 8 total now, and I just kind of never really got round to watching them all, and in order and making sure that I'd seen them all. I think I'd seen 1 or 2 of the later ones. And Jess has gone away, so I found myself with an abundance of time to fill. And
she is coming. She is coming back, just in case anybody's wondering.
Yeah, she is coming back. Hopefully.
So she says. So she says.
Yeah. So I found myself with an abundance of time, and I thought, well, 8 movies. That's like 16 hours worth of cars driving around, blowing stuff up. Let's go for it. And I just kind of went in. And I am halfway through the last one, so I haven't completely finished, but I'm nearly there.
Wow. I've seen a bunch of your tweets, and it's been fun to watch you go through them, because while I think I've seen them all, I certainly haven't watched them in any short span of time. It's been over a period of years, and I can't even... I have to say, I don't think most of them have a particularly memorable storyline that really sticks with me, but there's some great chase scenes and crashes, and probably at the pinnacle of that is the one that you tweeted just, I think it was it either today or maybe yesterday?
Yeah, it was yesterday.
Yeah, where the car is going from one tower to another, and I don't even remember what the setting was for that.
It's Abu Dhabi, I believe. I think is where they were. Yes. It was somewhere like that. I think that's where they were. They actually do that twice. There is 3 buildings, and they do it between all 3 buildings.
Wow.
Yeah, they really, really committed to that stunt. I'd say stunt. I mean, obviously they didn't do it. I assume a lot of that was done with these computers that I've heard a lot about that are ruining movies, apparently.
Yes. What you need to do is take a screenshot and send it to Joe Steele and have him circle all the bits where they get it wrong.
Yeah, I mean that's what everybody wants, I think. But I solicited a few questions on Twitter, because I mean the first question I got, this was before I even asked for questions, was from Robbie, and he just said why. which I think I've pretty much explained. I had some time, I kind of wanted to watch them all, so I just went for
it. And why not, Robbie? I mean, why not? It's a life experience, right, Rob?
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly something probably about the third or fourth movie, I was thinking, God, what am I doing? Like, I really need a break from this. But I'd kind of committed myself, and I was enjoying them, and I still am. But I was kind of questioning some of my choices at that point.
Yeah, it has its moments, but when I think those movies obviously suffer from the moments when they decide to take themselves seriously and have a lot of dialogue. They're much better just chasing cars around really quickly.
Yeah, definitely. I did a little bit of research because I was curious. They're making these. There's another 2 coming plus a spin-off.
Oh, really?
Yeah. There's a spin-off coming with The Rock's character and somebody else. I think it might be Jason Statham's character.
You do know that The Rock and I are tight, right?
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah, you and him are good friends.
Get ready to boogie. I think that's what he told me.
I think it was. But yeah, I did some research on this. Like, I went on Box Office Mojo, which kind of gives you all the information about movies and stuff like that.
Uh-huh.
And in terms of franchises, the Fast and Furious is only a little bit behind the DC universe, Jurassic Park, and then Spider-Man. Like, it's about 11th or 12th in terms of money made by franchises, but that's pretty good for movies that are basically just people driving around. I mean, it's made $1.5 billion.
Yeah, I mean, I assume it gets beaten by things like Star Wars, Star Trek, any Marvel stuff, that kind of thing, right? Batman.
Yeah, I mean, the top ones are Marvel, Star Wars, Harry Potter, Batman. It's actually above Star Trek, which I'm kind of amazed by.
There were some really bad Star Trek movies. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, of course. But yeah, I mean, I think they've done pretty well given what the premise of the movies are.
Yeah, I agree. Well, that's interesting. So what else? I mean, I guess Thomas had a question for you. Thomas wanted to know, how does Tokyo Drift really hold up in retrospect?
Yeah, and he also had a second question, which I think kind of comes into this one as well, which, like, what would be my recommended watch order?
Interesting.
And he also said kind of minimum watch order to enjoy the last one, which I'm only halfway through, but I kind of get the gist of what's going on. So Tokyo Drift is the one. It was a weird one at the time because it came out and it didn't have any of the characters from the first 2 movies. Like, Paul Walker wasn't in it.
Right.
He was the only one who was in the first 2. But it didn't have any characters. And what they've done retroactively is made it fits into Fast and Furious 6. So Tokyo Drift is technically, sort of chronologically, it's after number 6.
All right. Interesting.
It's all right. It's not bad. I mean, to be honest, it's the one with the most car driving in it. Like, if that's what you enjoy about the movies, like, there's more car driving in Tokyo Drift than any of the other movies.
Yeah, that's what I remember too. I remember there was nothing but wall-to-wall cars.
Yeah, I mean, again, I don't think it's the worst. It's not the best one I've watched. And in terms of sort of minimum amount of movies to enjoy the last one, I don't think it matters. There's a vague story that sort of it's just layered over the top of all this stuff, but in reality, you could jump in and watch any of these and you'd be fine.
Yes, and that's, I guess, why I've always enjoyed them. It's like, all right, I can't find any movie that I want to watch, but there's still that Fast and Furious we've never seen. Plus, they show up on things like HBO and Hulu and, I don't know, other streaming services. This is kind of like one of those filler movies that you find a lot on other streaming services.
Yeah, I mean, in the UK, they've just arrived on Netflix and Amazon Prime.
Okay.
This was 2 weeks after I bought them on iTunes.
Of course.
But it was fine. They were on sale. I was quite happy to buy them if it means I've got them. But yeah, like you say, they're just fun. Like, I think, especially with The Rock in them now, like, this is mostly what The Rock does. Like, you see the kind of movies that he makes. There's that Rampage one where he's fighting, like, huge dinosaurs.
Did you see that?
No, I haven't watched it.
Oh, I was going to say, should I watch it? Because I was tempted to last weekend. I was like, this weird white ape thing. I was like, I don't know. Maybe my family might hate me if I rent this.
Yeah, and there's Skyscraper, which I think is another one of his where, I think the poster is him like jumping off a crane into a building, and
right.
But that's kind of what I like about him and the movies. He knows they're ridiculous. Like, he's just making fun movies. He's not trying to make like Oscar-winning, deep sort of cult, like classic movies. They're just kind of fun. Like, who cares if you enjoy yourself for 2 hours or whatever? Then isn't that all that matters?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, they're perfect escapist type movies.
Yeah, I've enjoyed myself. It's been good.
No, that's good. You've actually made me want to go back and check some more of them out again, because it's been a little while since I've done it.
Yeah, they're a lot of fun. We did get one other question from Dave.
Dave Darns?
Oh yes, David Darns, previous and one and only guest host of Ruminate.
The David Darns.
Exactly. And he said, "How furious do you feel?"
That's a good question.
I feel the right amount of fast and furious.
Well, that's the perfect answer. I mean, I a lot of people would like to feel that fast and furious, and I think that David's right on point with this question.
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't want to be too fast or too furious.
No. I just sent you my rock tweet.
Okay, let me see. Oh yes, I remember this now. That was good fun. I will put that in the show notes.
It was fun. I do remember sitting at the dinner table on a Sunday night when The Rock tweeted me, and my Twitter just completely blew up, and my kids thought it was pretty funny. I like to remind them that I'm good friends with The Rock, which is not true, but
Well, I mean, he's tweeted you more times than he's tweeted me, so
there you go. There you go.
You're doing all right.
It's something to aspire to, Rob.
Absolutely. Cool. Okay. Well, let's draw a line under it there before we do any more Fast and Furious puns or anything else like that,
or just general damage.
Yeah. So yeah, let's wrap it up. We'll be back in a couple of weeks. This was episode 68. I think we've done pretty well. That's in a couple of weeks, sort of 2 or 3 weeks. It would have been 3 years since we started the podcast, which is pretty cool.
How about that? That's awesome.
So yeah, show notes will be on the website. Me and you are on Twitter. I'm at RMNurseUK. You're at John Voorhees. And we'll be back in a couple of weeks.
See you then.